if you're one of those people who is just gonna dislike this video and comment down below, oh, why are you being so negative, or anything like that, just go away. Click off the video, and I don't need to see your comment. I don't need to see a dislike, because this is coming from an actual Marvel fan. Like, an actual Marvel fan who actually likes the comics, likes some movies, at least non-MCU, and enjoys the characters and the universe and the build and all that. So if you're one of those people who say, oh, you're not a Marvel fan, then just click off. Because I don't need to see you guys, at least those kind of people, and I certainly don't need to see those comments, because this is actually coming from someone who cares about about Marvel, and how overall, yeah, this is someone who actually is a Marvel fan. But anyways, let's start. So, over like a few months ago, they announced that Robert Downey Jr. would be playing Doctor Doom in the MCU movie. What are my thoughts? And I was planning on making a video about this for a long time. But yeah, so what is my overall thoughts? Most people are split. Since some people says, yes, it's the MCU's final return to glory, whereas others are like, no, I don't like this idea. And I fall in the people who doesn't like this idea. Now, granted, if they say, oh, Robert Downey Jr. would be like the motion capture, since Doctor Doom will probably be voiced by someone else, that's fine. That's fine, because it would show, well, Marvel's actually kind of being smart about it. They're saying like, and motion capture, for those who don't know, is like when you're like, when your character is voiced by like either by someone else or your actor. And so, but it's essentially, yeah, think of like Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat uses motion capture a lot. And so, but that's not what they said. They specifically said that Robert Downey Jr. will be playing Doctor Doom. I'm going to split this part of the video in three categories, where we're going to talk about the movies, the movies and shows, the video games, and the comics. So I'm going to start with the movies. Doctor Doom in the comics is like one of the most popular Marvel villains, okay? He's very popular, and the thing is, one of the reasons why he's so popular is because of one thing. The comics understands the character very well. Yes, I know that the Fantastic Four movies were not well received and had said that they're some of the worst superhero movies, but they at least tried to do something interesting and unique. That's not, oh, let's just bring back an actor because we're desperate. And yes, Marvel clearly showed they're desperate, because there's a lot of very good actors out there, like Tom Cruise. Yes, I know he's making Mission Impossible, but Tom Cruise is a perfect example. Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the creators of South Park. Seth MacFarlane. And I don't want to strictly just use like Family Guy or South Park actors, but you get my point. There are other actors you can use. And and one of the things I realized when having Doctor Doom, or at least Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, is it going to be sorry, is it going to be Iron Man, but in the body of Doctor Doom, or an evil Iron Man? Because for those who don't know, Doctor Doom is not Like, I'm pretty sure if you look at Doctor Doom, you would expect him to be a discount evil Iron Man, but he's really not. He's very in a mixture of science, technology, and magic as well. And it's like, yes, Iron Man has armors that have magic, but it's not like they work that well in the comics, at least. So it's like, clearly they're going more with the science technology. Now, granted, it's fine if you're using Doctor Doom and you're adding only maybe adding the technology part, since you probably want to just use that since it's probably easier to explain. But if you're just gonna use, but it's like you're using Iron Man as well, so it kind of, in a way, it's kind of lazy. And if you really think about it, it really shows Marvel is not willing to take risks like this. It's like, hey, we have Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Maybe he can just be the motion capture, but our actual Iron movie is this completely different character. The thing is, for me, it shows that they're lazy. They can't even move on from their prime. Like, every movie, show, comic, and game has to move on from what was essentially the peak. Like, oh, this was the peak of the show or movie or game, and even though we're in a smaller state, it still has that same energy. You always have to move on from your peak at times. You can't just bring back the old actors just because you can't figure out an act like you can't figure out or find another actor to replace them. Because for me, it's so lazy. It's so lazy to a point because it really shows you weren't being smart. Like that's like now I know some of you guys might be thinking, but wait, don't you use a lot of the old actors for your Marvel vs. DC show? And I was like, yeah, but in that sense, that's a different reality. That's a completely different reality, where like it's not like the Fox universe and the Raimi verse are or now connected. No, it's gonna be they're part of the same world, but it's logical in that sense. So that's why I wouldn't even use my show in this kind of format since it's a different reality. There's so much. Another thing I think I realize um, is how they completely got the character wrong for Doctor Doom already, and we haven't even reached the movie yet. You already have an Iron Man, but it's like I'm not buying to have an evil Iron Man just so that I can have Doctor Doom. That's not how it works. Like I said before, Doctor Doom is not evil Iron Man. Anyways, I think that's enough of Doctor Doom rant. The Fantastic Four. Oh yeah, the casting. Mr. Fantastic. Okay, they're hiring Pedro Pascal. I sorry, apologize if I mispronounced, but that guy was in The Last of Us TV show. Even though they already had Mr. Fantastic already with John, I don't know how to say his last name, but that guy. I think he in like the last Doctor Strange movie. Really, Marvel's just being lazy. They can't even remember an actor who they already had in a different movie. It's lazy. You can say, oh, even though I was an alternate, this is gonna be the main prime version. I don't know how Marvel is this incompetent. At least Marvel Studios or Kevin Feige. I don't get how you can get that incompetent at learning your characters or the characters you want in them. There are characters you want in the story. Because if you're telling me you already have a decent idea with having Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange 2, you can just use the actor using that one. Why do you have to recast him or use a different actor? It's lazy, it's incompetent, and it will also show you just don't care and you just care about money. You don't care about the project, you don't care about the Marvel Universe. Yeah. Alright, I think we're done with the movies and shows. I know I didn't talk about the TV shows much, but I feel like the movies are kind of the most important. The TV shows, I don't think anyone's really watching them. She-Hulk, they didn't watch. Moon Knight was like their only decent show. Even that one has some terrible, terrible crap. Now let's get on to the video games. Now, for the record, I'll probably just be talking about Marvel vs. Capcom since that's like the only the only Marvel game that's actually popular. And by popular, I mean that's actually well known. I know there's Ultimate Alliance, but when you really think of Marvel games, Marvel vs. Capcom is probably the one you will think of no matter what. So yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom. You know, half of the Marvel universe, the reason why half of them are popular, like Dormammu, Moda, Taskmaster, Super Skrull, Blackheart, Shuma-Gorath, you know why they're all popular? It's from Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom actually put all these guys in the spotlight. Deadpool was actually got popular because of Marvel vs. Capcom. So would like other characters, like Cable and Psylocke. Since they weren't really that popular in the 90s and early 2000s, nowadays they're like, everybody knows about them. But you want to know something? Marvel treated Capcom like terrible. I know I'm still learning more about it, but I was like, I was shocked when I was like, jeez, Marvel really. I was like, jeez, am I supposed to feel sorry for Marvel after they're learning about all that? I was like, and it actually even made me question if I even should be a Marvel fan, because on one hand, like let's start with Marvel's Capcom 1. Capcom wanted to use Galactus as the final boss. Now, granted, if Marvel came and said, it's probably not the best idea, maybe it could be for a later installment, that would have been fine. That's normal. It would have said, maybe for a different installment at the moment. Not really at the moment, since it's kind of like our first big crossover, or at least big in the sense. Let's try someone else. Let's try like maybe Onslaught. That would have been fine. But no, in fact, even Marvel said that the reason why they didn't want Galactus in the first Marvel vs. Capcom game was because he was too unbeatable. Keep in mind, Shuma-Gorath is way more powerful than Galactus. Way more powerful. And they include him in Marvel vs. Street Fighter. So, and it's like a Shuma-Gorath losing is a little bit more like, what? Compared to Galactus. So you're telling me you'd rather have Shuma-Gorath lose because he's that weak, or because Shuma-Gorath is very powerful in the comics, yet Marvel would allow him, but not Galactus? That doesn't even make any sense. So automatically, when I realized that, I was like, that is stupid. This is a fighting game. It doesn't matter if fighting game characters tend to be more inconsistent than normal characters, Because they're probably going to go up and down throughout their history. There's just no way around it. It happens in Mortal Kombat all the time. Oh, you're playing a Scorpion, and oh, you beat Goro and Kintaro at the same time. But then wait a minute, how did I just beat those two, but then I lost to Noob Saibot? And that's how fighting game characters work. Same thing goes with Marvel vs. Capcom. Oh, I'm Dormammu. I'm so powerful. I can tear and beat all the crap out of everyone. But then Frank West comes in and beats me up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're powerful in a fighting game. You're always going to be limited by those kind of reasons. And so same with Galactus. In fact, you even saw the same thing in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Chris Redfield, Phoenix Wright, and Frank West were able to beat Galactus, at least if you can play as them. Even Spider-Man can. Iron Man can. Captain America can. Those guys would never even stand a chance against Galactus in the first place. So again, when Marvel says things like that, it's like, are you being serious? It's a fighting game. And it's like, I haven't even get into some of the more infamous ones when we get the 3 and Infinite. Yeah, I don't get it. So that's why we have Onslaught. Yeah, I do think Onslaught was probably a better choice, but I feel like Marvel could have approached it in a far better way. Like, even Capcom was like, it's a fighting game. What do you mean? And it was like, if he's too unbeatable, I was like, okay then. That makes no sense, but okay. At the moment, I don't think there's really any like developmental issues when it comes to Marvel's Capcom 2. At least that I'm thinking of at the moment. But if there is, let me know down below. Since I'm not... Yeah. But finally, let's get into 3 and Infinite, but mostly 3. And this is talking about Ultimate as well. Okay, starting off, let's start with the ones that actually are on the roster. Deadpool, X-23, Storm, and Sentinel. Alright. Deadpool, let's start with him. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big fan of Deadpool. I don't like his character. I don't like him that much, and I don't think he's really that funny. But even then, if you put him in your Marvel's Capcom roster, okay. Not like I care, but okay. But then, the fact that Capcom had to fight for Deadpool, for me, is ridiculous. It's not the other way around, where, oh, maybe Capcom is like, maybe it's not the best option, but Marvel kept pushing and kept saying, this guy can work very well in your Marvel's Capcom. There. That would have been a little bit more believable, since Deadpool is known to be more bloody side, compared to, say, even guys like Wolverine. But it's like, the fact that Marvel, like, didn't even want Deadpool, I think, kind of shows to me that they don't care about their characters. Same thing with X-23, Storm. I think the fact that, and I learned that from Maximilian Dodd, the fact that Storm and Sentinel, who are like some of the most, or at least Storm, is like some of the most popular Marvel characters on the planet at the time, were literally said that, nah. I was like, does Marvel even care about their own characters? Because you're telling me you don't want to, like, you can't use any of the Marvel characters? It's ridiculous. It's like, I was like, holy crap. And same goes with Ultimate. Like, Doctor Strange, like, there was some testing with the movements that Marvel just took over Doctor Strange, and it's like it probably was more in the sense like with the hand movies, we're very strict about that, and it's not like, oh hey, we're gonna try to take over Doctor Strange. That way you guys don't have to worry about it. Working like a team, and it's kind of obvious since Capcom. For those who don't know, Marvel's Capcom are the ones who actually design everything. Capcom are the ones who do the fight animations. They're the ones who do the music and all that. Marvel is not the ones who do that. They only have to. They're only there to help the Capcom crew on some learning about some of the characters. Like, oh, here's some abilities that Dormammu can do, or abilities Captain America can do, or what you can do, or things they should say. No, they don't. That's the only thing they're there for. They don't help in anything, so it's already kind of making them Marvel looks bad in this case. And yes, Marvel can be considered the villain in the Marvel's Capcom development, since most of the Capcom side don't really have that issue. In comparison, I think Ed Boon and DC Comics, when they developed the Injustice games, even for the ones that Ed Boon isn't familiar with, like Ares or others, I think DC still tries to show him and at least still try to help, since in case like anything goes wrong. But yeah. And you can definitely see, I think their relationship, DC and Ed Boon, has changed drastically since Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. I bet Capcom wishes, and I think it's Capcom wishes they could be like Ed Boon and DC with Marvel. And I think it's also important to know, I think it's kind of easy to know that Ed Boon and Capcom, despite what most people might think, they do actually have a good relationship. Since, Mortal Kombat gets referenced in a lot of Capcom games. And also, yeah, even though they probably declined the usage of you in any Mortal Kombat game, they have said that they could use a Mortal Kombat character. But I think one of the reasons why they have also a bit of respect is also something you should know. Ed Boon has never actually used a Marvel character. Yes, he's talked about Marvel, but notice how there's been no confirmation of any Marvel character ever coming to Mortal Kombat. Not even Punisher or Deadpool. Not even Wolverine. I wonder why. Oh, wait. Marvel and Capcom crossover. Capcom has struggled with Marvel for years, and I'm pretty sure in one of those times, Ed Boon probably went to Capcom if they could use Ryu. I'm almost confident Capcom told them after they said no, but never ever ask Marvel. Or if you do, that's like the one company you don't want to work with. And I think, yeah. Now let's get on to Infinite. And I don't think I have to go. Literally, I think Marvel and Disney messed up Infinite so much. Like, there's even, like, I even read somewhere where Disney and Marvel did not even want to get their characters embarrassed by having the Capcom crew beat them up. By having the Capcom characters beat them up. So that's why most of the promotion, it was really just Marvel beating the Capcom characters. Granted, in a real life, in an actual fight, Marvel and Capcom battling each other in a real fight, yes, Marvel would win. But even for a fighting game, that doesn't work. And I realized when DC or Ed Boon asked Hellboy, asked Dark Horse if they want to include Hellboy in Injustice 2, DC was fine with Hellboy beating the crap out of Atrocitus. But Marvel and Disney were like, no, we can't have that. For me, it sickens me that Marvel cares more about their ego than their characters and any of that. Now let's finally move on to our last one, and that is the comics. Marvel has struggled with comics for years. Years. I was able to tell when I realized how poorly some of the comics are, how poorly some of their characters are. Starters. Let's start with the Spider-Man characters in the comics. You can tell most of them are just Batman clones. And the fact that most of their origins even mirror Batman characters, for me, is the thing that I hate. Look, I get maybe at times you're going to have to do something like that, but the many times for me is insane. It kind of shows Marvel has no idea what they're doing and they just want to copy off Batman. Since some of the Batman characters get their origins earlier than the Spider-Man villains. It's not all. They always make the Spider-Man villains stupid and ridiculously weak to a point that it's like, this shouldn't even be a fight. Oh, Sandman. Let's introduce a guy who's made out of sand, but let's have his weakness be water. Even though what I probably would do is just not make him water. That way he's actually a legitimate threat. I hate that Marvel does that with their comics. Same thing goes with Hydra-Man. I was like, a guy made out of water should be a threat to Spider-Man, since technically you can't punch water. And there's no weakness you can use with water or compared to, say, anything else. But no, Marvel makes him an idiot. And speaking of Spider-Man, I even one time made this comment on a site where it was like, I would not be surprised if there's a Marvel comic where Spider-Man beats Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet and Galactus at the exact same time. Because that's how Spider-Man is written nowadays. He's written as he's like the most OP character in the Marvel Universe. It's happened many times with Morlun, a character who's specifically designed to eat Spider-Man across the multiverse. He's like a one villain that Spider-Man cannot beat. Maybe it's fine if Spider-Man beats him like once in a while, but no, Spider-Man has beaten him all the time. Why, you might ask? Because Marvel cannot allow Spider-Man to lose to anyone. Like, forget caring about quality. Forget, it's like we're gonna go over quantity and have Spider-Man beat everyone, which includes Morlun. For me, it's ridiculous since it shows Marvel is not willing to take risks. You know, DC can take risk. Any other comic book company can take risks by having their most popular character lose a fight once in a while. Yes, DC has said Batman has beaten Superman, but the thing is, there's a lot more logic to it. They've also stated that Superman can also beat Batman as well. Not to mention, they actually have multiple stories where Superman does beat the crap out of Batman. But even then, Batman always prepares for the fight, or at least prep times. Yes, it's becoming a meme, but it still makes sense that, logically speaking, he's preparing for the fight. Right. Plus, not to mention, with Spider-Man, he doesn't actually prepare and have the battles with Morlun, I just said. So it means making Batman's fights way more believable in the sense that he can win, but with Spider-Man, it's not believable. Like, even the Flash, his villains make a little bit more sense. Like, they all know going one-on-one with the Flash, a man who runs faster than light, is not a good idea alone. So they say team up, and they actually can prove a very good team and good teamwork, even if it's still not a fair fight. But even then, Flash versus Rogue's fights are a lot more chaotic, a lot more like a lot more logical than Spider-Man fights. And it's not even that, oh, you have to turn off your brain and disbelief, because no, I can do that with Marvel. I can't do that with Spider-Man in the sense that he's beating characters that he's probably shouldn't beat with no prep time. But even then, Marvel has had a lot of terrible stories and a lot of terrible characters, in my opinion. Well, that's I just wanted to get out how I've been feeling about Marvel, and I'm kind of losing my respect for Marvel. Every time there's something new with Marvel, it's always something lackluster. A lot of Spider-Man stuff is terrible, in my opinion, because it shows they're not willing to take risks. And if you can't take risk, then what are you doing? In fact, there's some even things I didn't even bring up. The fact that Marvel even has to ask Capcom which character is which I think is stupid, because because Marvel should know their characters. Same thing with the movies. It's like every time Marvel does something, they always do something wrong. And this is for the entire company. Marvel Comics, Marvel Studios, Marvel Games, Marvel anything. Anything Marvel. Because they never seem to get an idea. In fact, like Deadpool and Wolverine came out. I didn't see it. I don't even plan on watching it. Why? Because I know it's going to be a Spider-Man No Way Home mess. Marvel is, like, for the movies, you're telling me you couldn't, what is the difference between the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Avengers, and Spider-Man, and why could you not put them in the same world? Like, what was so hard about that in the first place? There was nothing wrong with that. You could say, oh, Marvel lost the rights to all the characters. I was like, no. No. They had control over their own characters. You saw with DC. Yeah, they didn't want Green Arrow on one movie, on a movie and a show, but that's probably because they allowed Green Arrow on a show since he was way too similar to Batman. That seems reasonable, right? Yeah. The Flash, in the sense, he's kind of like in the middle, where he's a very big character, but he's also small at the same time, so he's kind of in between. So he kind of makes sense. I don't get Marvel anymore. I really don't. And I really want Marvel to improve or get out of like this phase, because I'm a big Marvel fan. I love Marvel. I've been a fan of the comics since I was a kid. I like a lot of the characters they make. I love Thor. I love the Young Avengers. I like a lot of the stories. What it's like, I like a lot of the non-MCU movies, like the Spider-Man trilogy, the Amazing Spider-Man 2012 with Andrew Garfield. Marvel means a lot to me. And seeing it go like this, being greedy, being absurd when it comes to reasoning, and being nonsensical, and having the universe almost broken at this point is just sad. I was like, I don't even think DC Comics is like this. Like, at least the DC universe is a little bit more reasonable with a lot of stuff, but not Marvel. Well, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.